council to borrowing nearly $50 million for the city's share of building a new Johnson Street bridge. But there's less attention on the by-election to fill one council seat. 11 candidates are vying for a single vacant seat on Victoria City Council, and this morning I'm joined by one of those candidates. Barry Hobbis is making his second run for council. He also ran as a candidate in 2008, and he's in studio now. Good morning, Barry.
Good morning, Phil. How are you this morning?
I'm well. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
So what motivated you to run this time?
Well, I think the same thing that motivated me the last time, which is I'm very concerned about the state of our city, and that begins with the state of the economy in our city and the fiscal responsibility needed to do that. And perhaps more than last time, I'm very concerned about the public engagement process that the city practices, or in fact doesn't practice. And that really has me concerned this time around.
Let's talk about the bridge placement issue, one of the biggest issues in this year in Victoria. What do you make of the handling of the bridge issue by council?
Well, I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed in the mayor. I'm disappointed, actually, when I look at the candidates. There's the mayor and Marianne Alto seem to have like minds on the bridge issue. I'm disappointed that we have to spend $50,000 of taxpayers' money to get people out. It's their money to get them out to vote on an issue that isn't being impartially represented. You're using city staff, city equipment, city trucks to transport equipment around to various locations, again, to present a one-sided view of an issue that's a mess. The process is a mess. We wouldn't be here money on internally having a public relations fiasco take place right now, where we're using city assets, city bus stops, city-owned property to promote a yes vote on an issue that is simply one-sided at this point.
You would be one councillor. What influence can you have on this issue?
Well, I think the most pre-referendum or post-referendum. There's two different levels of influence. Pre-referendum, I hope I can have a significant influence in the context of saying to the voters of this city, no means no. And that simply says that when you have 9,000 people call your judgment to question by way of a petition, you should have stopped and listened very carefully to what they were saying and go back to a public engagement strategy. I would like people to understand that no means no when you're asked as the mayor of this city, what are you going to do if the referendum is a no vote? And as the mayor of this city, your response is to say, we're going to do it anyway. We'll go drain our reserves, we'll go increase taxes. That kind of a threat is just not the way that you practice public engagement. And it's not the way that you discount a taxpayer's vote by saying to that taxpayer, look, if you vote no, I'm going to ignore it and go ahead and do what I want to do anyway. No means no.
What's the biggest issue facing the city?
Well, if you read vital signs, if you look at most media reports, it remains homelessness, and homelessness does not mean housing. The two are directly connected, but they're two different impact points in our society. And the mayor and Marianne continue to acknowledge that homelessness is the #1 issue, and I don't think we've come close to solving that problem yet.
So what are some options that we should be looking at? What would you champion on that front?
I champion two things. One, we just recently had a bylaw passed by mayor and council dealing with camping on Pandora, for example, and I agreed with that. I think that was a good step forward. Unfortunately, it didn't close the circle. We're halfway around the circle. We haven't come close to closing it. I sit across from our house every day. I was very privileged to go on a tour with Riverdale last week, through our place, and it was an amazing revelation for me to see the inside and the function of that. You have people who are homeless because of mental health issues. You have people who are homeless because of addiction issues, and those people need the province to sit up and pay attention and not close institutions or close services, but open them, reopen them. You have a city that throws its hands up in the air and says, well, it's not our problem. There's nothing more we can do about it. And that's wrong. There is something we can do about it. As much as I've talked to city councilors about the reality of needing a tent city, for example, there just doesn't seem to be any will at Mayor and Council to do that. And I think we have to do that. I think that we have to give people a place, and a safe place, and a place where they have porta potties, where they can have some human dignity. I don't know of anybody that has stood up in grade 4 show and tell and said, gee, when I grow up I want to be homeless, or I want to be drug addicted, or have mental health issues. They're human beings, and we need to start acknowledging that they, like us, while they have to have a place called home, that place may not be with a cement foundation and 4 walls around it. It's just a place that's theirs.
But surely a tent city is not a long-term solution.
No.
At least that's what some argue.
No, and of course it's not. You know, you're not going to solve homelessness by virtue of a tent city, but you're not going to address the most immediate issue on our streets, which is that we have people sleeping in areas that are not safe, sleeping and being roasted every morning at 7 o'clock because they're on a piece of city property or commercial property. We have a lot of people that need a place where they're safe. And you know, in a perfect world, we would be taking a look at, instead of $100 million on a bridge right now and $467 million of infrastructure deficit, we might be thinking more about where can we and how can we better provide funding for places like our place and allow them to stay open the hours that they should be open to help look after these people. They feed 1,500 people a day at our place. And you know, I can understand the voter that says, listen, I'm fed up with this homeless issue. I'm fed up with people being in my face when I go downtown. You know, we're all fed up perhaps with one thing or another at City Hall, or the lack of things being done at City Hall, but we're all human beings, every single one of us. And I don't want to see homelessness on our street looked at as something that's ugly, or something that we brush away with a broom, or something that we solve by handing bus tickets to people and sending them to Vancouver. We are a city of compassionate people, and we can solve these problems.
Barry Hobbis, thank you for joining me this morning.